Hey guys, I'm back here to share my thoughts on the Sony conference where they unveiled the PlayStation 4. Back when the Wii U was announced a few months ago, I also did a video sharing my thoughts and impressions on the conference. So I thought I'd do one for the PlayStation 4 because it's one of the systems that I'm sort of looking forward. And now that, some of the specs and games were shown, we know a little bit more about the what the PlayStation 4 is capable of delivering. So I have my cheat sheet here with what they went over. I'm going to start by saying that overall I thought it was an okay conference. On the hardware side, I was very pleased with what they showed as far as the specs go. I have it right here. They're going to have a very developer-friendly architecture with the type of CPU that they're going to be using, and they're going to have an enhanced GPU. So according to the people in charge of developing the PlayStation 4, developers were actually very happy with the way that that Sony handled things this time around. So Sony did a good job of learning from their mistakes with the Vita and the PSP and the PlayStation 3 with that whole core cell processor, that it was really a headache for developers. So what Sony did this time around, they approached developers and they gathered some feedback and input. So I thought that was a good idea on them. So it sounds like developers are fully on board with the PlayStation 3, which is good. I think the most notable or impressive thing about the specs was the announcements of the 8 gigs of RAM, and they're going to be using DDR5 RAM, which is like top of the line, which in a way I'm happy. That's a lot of RAM. I'm sure a big chunk, or I'm not going to say a big chunk, but a small portion of that 8 gigs is going to be used by the operating system, which I'm fine. Because I really hate the PlayStation 3, how slow the cross-media bar is while you're playing games. Like if you want to send a private message to somebody while you're inside a game, it's very slow and painful. So if they fix that issue, I'm going to be really happy. If everything is seamless and fast, I'm going to be a happy camper. So really happy with the 8 gigs of RAM announcement, but at the same time I'm a little bit worried because that's like a top-of-the-line RAM. And hopefully that doesn't shoot the prices up too much. Which, by the way, they have not announced the official pricing of the system yet, which is a little bit disappointing. But I'm a little bit worried, considering all the features that they're adding, that the price might be a little bit on the high end. So I guess we just have to wait and see. They'll probably reveal those pieces of information around E3 of this year. So another cool thing, well, I don't know if it's a cool thing or not, but it's going to have a local hard drive. Hopefully, and another good news is that it's going to keep the Blu-ray players, and this time it's going to be a much faster Blu-ray player. It's going to have a 6 speed, which is an overall improvement over the PlayStation 3, obviously. So hopefully now that the Blu-ray disc reader is much faster, that means that we're not going to have to be installing so much data from the games into the hard drive. So in a way I'm a little bit scared when they said we're going to keep using hard drives, because that leads me to think that they're going to want you to install amounts of data in your hard drive again, like the PlayStation 3, which I absolutely hate that, because my PlayStation 3, my hard drive is just full. So if they can manage to have the games read off the disc, for the most part, I'll be a happy camper. So what else? So Blu-ray is a cool thing, especially for a Blu-ray format. It means that it's here to stay. So I'm really cool with that. Then we had the DualShock 4 controller announcement, which looks a little bit more comfortable to hold. I think they're addressing some of the issues and concerns that some of the users for the DualShock 3 had. The DualShock 3 controller, in my opinion, is good enough. So I think the triggers, they look a little bit more comfy now, and the sticks also have a different type of shape now. So it looks to be pretty good. They also added like a touchpad here at the front, which I'm not really crazy about it. I think, to be honest, they're just trying to, I guess in a way, add that to copy, you know, the Wii U touch crap, which, you know, I guess it's cool, but in my opinion, it's not really needed. But anyways, it's a feature that, you know, they decided to add. And they also added like a light here at the top, which in my opinion is kind of useless. I mean, they said that they're adding that light to make it easier to identify, you know, who is player 1, who's player 2, and I mean, I don't know, to me it sounds like a pointless feature, but they also added a share button, which that's one of the parts that I'm really excited about. It's the whole social, they're trying to engage the PlayStation 4 to a more social aspect, which I know a lot of people are probably not really happy with that, but the features that they unveiled as far as, you know, that sharing and social media aspect are pretty cool, especially for I think the YouTube gaming community is going to enjoy the added features, because it's going to be easier, more easier than ever to share videos, to upload gameplay videos. They also said that they're going to have a stream feature where you can stream the, you know, whatever you're playing on real time to websites like Ustream, for example. So for those of you that, you know, love doing long plays or, you know, walkthroughs and gameplay footage, it's gonna be you know, a gift from the heavens, because you don't have to buy like a capture card or anything. As far as I'm concerned, all you have to do, or at least they made it sound like all you have to do is, you know, just push that share button and you can share screenshots, videos, you can upload your or stream your current gameplay session and whatnot. So I'm really happy with those features. So they sound interesting. And another feature that I'm really excited about, and in my opinion is a system seller feature, is the suspend and resume functions. If you push the power button, your PlayStation 4 is going to enter a sleep mode, where you can, you know, just go do something else for like an hour or two and then come back, you push the power button again and your game is going to resume from that very same position. It's very similar to what the portable handhelds are doing, you know, the 3DS and the Vita, the PSP and whatnot. So it's a really cool feature. It means that you don't have to turn your system, and then when you come back you have to power it on, you have to wait until the system boots up, you have to watch the intro screen and whatnot. So it's gonna be a time saver. So that's a really cool feature. Something that I don't really care, it's the digital titles are gonna be playable even when downloading. I don't know how's that gonna work, but I guess it's a cool feature. I mean, but I don't really care for it that much. Also, let's see, remote play with PlayStation Vita, and their goal is to have every PlayStation 4 being streamed to the PlayStation Vita. That to me sounds like a copycat function. It sounds like a copycat function with the Wii U, which is cool, you know. You know, I really love the off TV feature that the Wii U offers. Sometimes, you know, it does work. You know, sometimes somebody else in your house wants to watch a different show, but you want to still keep playing the game. And you know, with the Wii U, all you have to do is just push a button, and the game, you can play the game on your Wii U gamepad. So it sounds like they're trying to do the same concept, which is cool. But I mean, in my opinion, it's not really needed. I mean, but it's a cool feature nevertheless. Also, they had this big cloud thing with Gaikai, which I don't really care for cloud gaming. I think it's a cool concept, you know, uploading your save files and you know, storing them in a cloud and whatnot. So, but I didn't really particularly care for that portion of the conference. Now, so overall, regarding the hardware, I know a lot of people were complaining that the hardware was not shown. I don't understand that complaint. I mean, here's a hint. It's gonna be a plastic box and probably black in color. I mean, I don't understand. Some people were really upset that the design of the hardware was not shown. I could care less. they told us what the specs are, which is what I really cared for, and they told us what some of the functionalities that are new are, you know, like the share button, like what the DualShock 4 controller is going to look like, the cloud stuff that they're going to be adding to it. So that in my opinion is what I'm really interested. I could care less how the machine looks. I mean, obviously if it looks good, it's going to have certain appeal, but I could care less, you know, about the design of the hardware. A lot of people were complaining that. I don't understand why. And I'm sure they're going to unveil that at E3. The disappointing part for me regarding the hardware is that the fact that they haven't announced a date. They just said, you know, holiday of 2013, and they have not announced a price, which is very important, because if it's too expensive, I'm not going to be buying one day one. But if it's reasonably priced, then yes, count me in. But so that's the hardware part. I was very pleased. Sounds like it's going to be a pretty powerful machine. I'm not really a graphics fanboy or anything, so I could care less, but it looks like the PlayStation 4 is going to be able to handle some pretty decent graphics. Yeah, let's move on into the games. They announced the first game they show is called Knack, and I didn't really care for it. It seems to be like a new IP from Sony. It had a cute little charming character that apparently can transform into like a bigger type of you know, character depending on the parts that he gathers. But I wasn't really a fan of the character design. It looked like a Pixar movie. I don't know. Just the game didn't do anything for me. And as far as graphical capabilities, that game didn't do anything for me. I mean, it just looked bland, and it didn't really look like much of an overall upgrade from the current generation systems. So, Knack, I didn't really care for it. The next game that they showed is Killzone Shadowfall, which looked pretty impressive in the flyover sequences. You know, you have your ship flying over this city with amazing attention to detail. You know, you could see the reflections on the windows of the buildings. You can see like little details like trees and a lot of attention to detail. But here's the problem: once the first-person shooter gameplay portion started, it just looked very bland and generic. I have to admit, I'm not a Killzone fan at all. So I really didn't care for the whole first-person shooter parts. To me, it looked, I don't know, generic and boring. And to be honest, the character models, as far as physics go, they just look like PlayStation 3 models. So I was disappointed with Killzone, but then again, I was not really looking forward to that, because Killzone is not really an IP that I care for. So not very impressed with Killzone. Then we have a racing game called Drive Club, which seems to be taking the Gran Turismo approach in terms of detail. They showed some of the onboard shots of the game, and it looks really impressive. You know, they pay a lot of attention to detail. You know, from the steering wheel to the controls of the car to like the leather in the seats, which is cool. But you know the graphics look great, but again, nothing like nothing that it's that's gonna make you go, wow, that is truly next gen, in my opinion. But what I did like about the game, it seems that it's gonna be focused on like a team-based approach, where you have to compete, or you have to sign for like teams, and you can compete with other people from around the world and be part of the same team, or you can you can either have friends on your same team and then rivals on other teams and whatnot. So seems to be like a pretty decent racing game, but I didn't really care much for it. Then we have Infamous Second Son. We didn't really see a whole lot, but it didn't really impress me. Then we had one game shown by Jonathan Blow, which looked like a cartoony version of Myst. I didn't really care for it. I thought it looked bland. Then we had Deep Down, which seems to be a working title by Capcom, which it looked amazing as far as the graphical capabilities and from a technical, graphical standpoint. It just looked amazing. The amount of detail, lighting effects, and textures were just out of this world, to the point that a lot of people are really debating whether it was actual gameplay footage or just like a cinematic sequence. Regardless of what it is, it looked great, but again, it was a very small footage, short footage. It looks like a Demon's Souls type of game, but we haven't seen a whole lot, so it did look pretty good though. And then we had, in my opinion, the highlight of the show for me, and it's Watch Dogs, which is a game that we already saw a little bit in the past, in last year's E3. And the game just, again, looks phenomenal. It has a pretty unique type of, hacking and using, tech gadgets to control the environment and to your advantage. So that, in my opinion, was the highlight of the show. By far is the game that I'm most interested. And the game is also coming to the PlayStation 3, 360, the Wii U and whatnot. So looks like it's gonna be like a cross-generation game. But again, from what they've shown, the graphics look pretty good, pretty amazing, and the game looks fun. So that's what I really care about. The gameplay looks unique and fun. So that was the game that stood out from the whole conference. And then we had Blizzard coming out and announcing Diablo 3, which a lot of people didn't really care. No reaction from the crowd whatsoever when they announced that. And also Destiny, which was unveiled a few days ago. It's like a first-person shooter game by Bungie. Looks good, I guess. I'm not. I mean, from what I've seen, it looks pretty good, but the gameplay didn't really do anything for me. And then we had the people from Square Enix come out and. They showed like a year-old video of what they're capable of doing with that technology, and they also said, hey, we have a Final Fantasy game in the works, stay tuned for some more. So it was like an announcement of another announcement, and the guy was like, stay tuned for E3 for more information. So overall, it was like I said, it was an okay conference. I'm surprised by the negativity that it's receiving, both from, I guess, people here on YouTube and the media in general. I think the consensus is, for the most part, that it was a below average conference. And, I don't agree with that. I mean, at the same time, we have to keep in mind that this was the unveil of the PlayStation 4. We're just scratching the surface. And I think E3 is going to be the real, showdown for Sony. So I was very pleased with the hardware specs that they announced. Sounds like it's going to be a pretty good machine with pretty good features. The software, I was not really crazy about it. Like I said, the only standout for me was Watch Dogs by Ubisoft. And then, the Capcom demo looked pretty good. But other than that, Killzone, it just looked generic to me. It looks great, don't get me wrong. Technically, speaking from a graphical standpoint, the game looks phenomenal. But as far as when the gameplay started, it just looked so generic. It looked so boring. Like it's a type of game that I would gladly wait for a few months for the game to be $20. That's the type of impression that I got from the Killzone footage. So, anyways, in my opinion, it was an okay conference. I can see why a lot of people were disappointed, but I just don't agree with some of the disappointment topics, I guess. Some people were like, why didn't they show the hardware? I mean, who cares about how the hardware looks? The specs are what matter, and the games, obviously. So they were able to show that. So I'm excited for the PlayStation 4. I need to know the pricing. I need to know a little bit more about the games that are coming out for it. But other than that, I think it's shaping up to be a pretty good console. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And thank you for watching.